So just like Ghostbusters, a movie nobody wanted to be the way it was. Not that there's anything wrong with an all-female cast. Of course there isn't. Because it would be funny if an all-female cast shit on men. That's fine. But Ghostbusters took it to insane lengths and used a franchise that was beloved to do it. See, that's the problem. It's not that you're pushing women or you're pushing different ethnicities and races and things like that. That's all good stuff. But the problem is when you rub it in people's faces to hurt other people. It makes no sense. Instead of making everyone equal, you sort of make everyone else better and then shit on white males. And males all around, to be honest. Especially Star Wars.
Star Wars The Last Jedi. I'm gonna give you the good, I'm gonna give you the bad, I'm gonna give you the nerdy.
On Thursday, December 14th, we saw Star Wars The Last Jedi, and we left the theater disappointed. Now, 2 years ago when The Force Awakens was released, we were angry at the film. But there was two big differences. Back then, the hype train was being fueled by nostalgia, and people were giving the film a pass just because it made them happy. This time, though, that is not the case.
So in The Force Awakens, Starkiller Base was destroyed, Kylo Ren goes back to Snoke, Rey finds Luke Skywalker, hands him his dad's lightsaber or his lightsaber, and that's where we start out. So Rey wants to be trained by Luke, Kylo Ren has something to prove, and all the while Poe Dameron and the rest of the Resistance wants to be
the spark that will light the fire that will burn the First Order down.
And like any movie, there are things I like, things I didn't like, because it's just a movie.
There was some stuff that they brought to the table with this one that was a little bit different than what I was expecting. This could have been easily a rehash of The Empire Strikes Back, or at least heavily inspired by it in ways that The Force Awakens was heavily inspired by the original Star Wars. And every moment that came in this movie where I thought it would go that way, the movie just went, nah, bro, we going over here. You wasn't expecting that. Boom.
Like the beginning action sequence in this movie, Poe Dameron is in fact a great pilot.
And there's this scene that takes place where they're having this big space battle at the beginning of the movie. And I was thinking like, oh, this is the cool big action showpiece they put at the beginning of the movie to get the action started right away.
Poe Dameron calls in the bombers that drop bombs in space because this is gravity. I know TIE bombers have already existed, but I always saw TIE bombers as they shoot something, but just vertically down. It's not gravity that does it, it's actually shooting something down. It's how I always saw it anyway. But a lot of people die in here.
Let's talk about Akbar. He gets blown off the bridge and dies, right? Now, Leia gets blown off the bridge, but she doesn't die because, of course, she has the Force, and she flies like Mary Poppins back to the ship. The once loved Admiral just gets blown out into shit and nobody cares. Instead of having him actually maybe be the one, instead of the purple-haired SJW chick.
We don't need to learn any lessons. What we need to do is study around. You're the worst Vice Admiral ever.
Poe, I'm a purple-haired female, so that means I'm a hero, and I'm gonna go down a hero. Not only am I not gonna tell you something that I should just tell you, I'm not gonna tell you because you're a dumb male, and you'd probably screw this whole thing up, you stupid male. I'm friends with Leia, who is the leader of this whole thing, and I'm also a big member and a leader of this whole thing because I'm a purple-haired feminist SJW. Oh, and by the way, Akbar? No, he's getting blown out the window. We don't care about him. I'm gonna save the day and sacrifice myself.
What the fuck?
Then we see Rey going to Luke.
And guess what? I never had a problem in Force Awakens that they went with a female lead and that she had a black sort of co-star in the movie, John Boyega. I loved it, actually. I thought it was great. There was no problem with it whatsoever.
And what you learn about her is that even though she's happy that she has these Jedi powers, she's also afraid. She doesn't know how to deal with it. She doesn't know how to control it. She doesn't know her backstory of why she has it or who her parents are. And a lot of that troubles her. And it also troubles Luke because he's worried that because of these fears, it could lead her to easily get swayed by the dark side. And he's already dealt with that with Kylo Ren. He don't want to deal with that again.
Now, this is one of those things where she holds Luke's lightsaber to Luke. Luke grabs it. And the way the music was going, I was like, he's gonna shit can that thing over his shoulder. Totally did. Throws it right over his shoulder. Which is pretty much a metaphor for any and all fan theories and expectations for this movie. But that was the first thing I was like, what?
Yes, there is a ticked-off splinter of the Star Wars fandom angered by The Last Jedi. These MAGA-esque fanboys, the same that call Rey a Mary Sue, or lost their marbles over the 2016 all-female Ghostbusters reboot before it even hit theaters, have been spreading their overblown hatred all over social media. As you might imagine, those fans, who seem to take their cues from the First Order supremacists Hux and Kylo, rather than Resistance heroes Rey, Finn, and Poe, aren't very comfortable with the film's more progressive messages. Their hysteria-tinged reactions should be ignored. Ignored because they disagree with you? That's not equality. What if a surge of women were the ones that hated this film? I guarantee you that kind of paragraph wouldn't be written, especially in today's climate. Now, the Ghostbusters narrative of men are evil is what killed that franchise, and Paul Feig's bullshit is what ruined that. Not the men that aren't tampon-carrying feminists. And look where he is right now. Not at Sony.
So the lead is a hero female, of course, with more power than anybody, even Luke Skywalker, because even without any training, she scares him and can beat him up and everything.
Well, last time I checked, Star Wars didn't stop in the middle to give you a PSA. That's a job for G.I. Joe or Pee Wee Herman.
And Kylo Ren, man, I gotta give him props. He brought it in this movie. I know people have their concerns about him, but the thing about Kylo Ren is you can't look at him like he's supposed to be the next Vader, because he is not. This is a guy that is clearly emotional, and he has some issues because he's had problems with his mentors, both in the light side and in the dark. And he's just very confused and conflicted about who he's supposed to be with this power. And then they showcase in this movie that there's some kind of special connection between Kylo Ren and Rey. It's almost like a Jedi FaceTime where they can just sense each other and talk to each other when they're not even in the same area. And it leads to some very interesting conversations. Both want to have a better future. They just want to do it in different ways. And they're both just like, come on my side. No, you come on my side. No, you come over here. No, you come over here.
He, of course, is a bad guy because he's a white male, so of course he is a terrible, no good, bad guy.
And then of course you had Finn. He finally wakes up from his coma and the first thing he's doing is like, where's Rey at? He knows that Rey is away. He doesn't want her to come back because he's afraid that she'll get in danger if she comes back here, so he tries to find her so they can escape. And he runs into Rose, this brand new character, who thinks that he's trying to get away, and it leads to this whole like, oh, crazy dynamics, but then they end up becoming a pair that goes on this quest of their own to try to help everyone out. And let me just say, man, I freaking love Rose.
Shut the fuck up.
Now, you would think that being black, African-American, John Boyega would at least get a more noble role or a good part in this movie, but he gets a shithole part in this movie, thus still pushing the stigma of just black actors in movies. He had a chance to be a hero in this movie, but that chance to be a hero was interrupted by this stupid bitch. This fucking Jar Jar Binks of this movie. This dumb fucking bitch. If you are someone out there that actually supports this movie, there is no fucking way in the entire fucking world that you can defend this fuck-ass character. There is no way. First of all, this dumb bitch, they let the animals go for whatever reason, and she says some corny line that's annoying. And then later on, Finn is about to save everybody and become a hero and stop something, and what happens at the last second? She smashes him out of the way of it. And then she says to Finn that we have to love each other. She gives him a kiss, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen.
What the fuck?
But now let's look at something that could be the real reason why people are upset with this film.
Luke Skywalker is majorly flawed because he thinks that Kylo Ren, despite the fact that he did anything and everything he could to save Vader, his father, he said, I can turn him back, I can save him at any cost, even if I have to die, I know I can turn him back. However, he believes that Kylo, when he was training him, was going to be very powerful and a very bad guy and use the Force in a bad way. So he has this idea that I should kill him and then stop him from whatever he's going to do. And then in the middle of it, he thinks, oh, maybe I made a mistake. And then it leads to the problem. He essentially creates Kylo Ren in a way. So, thus making Luke Skywalker, not only is he against what his character was, it makes Luke Skywalker kind of a fucking idiot.
What the fuck?
Here's the biggest problem with all of this, though. Rotten Tomatoes is touted as a great indicator of the quality of a film. It's on the box, it's put on ads, and it's used as a defense for film. That is until, of course, it goes against the narrative. Listen up, Disney, you can't control everything. You may be able to influence media outlets, just like you may be able to scare smaller critics into submission, but you can't control the minds of people. You're manipulating their hearts, quite easy at that. That's the magic of Disney.
So you have effectively done what you kind of wanted to here. You have a female character in Rey that will be the head of the whole thing. And then you will have, of course, Oscar Isaac, John Boyega, and this Asian bitch who sucks.
But please remind us again how female-driven blockbusters are box office poison. You fucking people couldn't even leave out the gender politics, could you?
And through all this, you can see the agenda that they had to disguise it a little bit more than Ghostbusters and some of those other movies.
Well, it's Star Wars, and you see how they can take a turd, market The Last Jedi, and it will make them money.
Ask yourself this, if everybody on Earth was purple. Imagine if we were all the color purple, right? Every single one of us was purple and genderless. How would this movie have gone? Do you really think this movie would have gone the same way if we were all genderless and purple? No chance in hell. There was a clear message sent in this movie, and that's what fucking ruins it for almost everybody that has a brain.
Here's the biggest and the best part about all this. People are waking up. They can't throw out excuses anymore. It's not the alt-right bringing down review scores. It's not racist. It's not bots. Rotten Tomatoes already confirmed that.
I still give the movie a 6 out of 10, because it still kind of entertained me. But every time one of these things happened that was clearly in our face, like child slavery, or animal cruelty, or rich people making weapons.
The repeat customers aren't coming back because they're not liking what they're seeing, and Star Wars faces more competition than it did back in the day, thus becoming less of a cultural event and more of an annual tradition. And annual traditions can suck some years, this being one of them. The most ardent defenders seem to be in denial about the whole situation more than passionately loving The Last Jedi. They seem to say, yeah, it's not that bad, but rarely do they say it's truly great?
I mean, in the end, there was a lot to like about this movie. This movie is gorgeous looking. A lot of times I feel like people are like, if the movie looked gorgeous, that's enough. It's not for me, not for a Star Wars film. I need the characters to be done justice. I need the plot to make sense. I need to not waste people's time. Sometimes this movie did that, but it was still entertaining and enjoyable to watch. I know I really hammered home the problems, but the problems are important to address. A good movie can have problems. I'm just saying things that are flawed but enjoyable, things that have flaws, they're fine. And that's how I see The Last Jedi. I certainly give it a good time. No alcohol required.